It's a billion-dollar industry, the protein shake business. How can you go about selecting the best protein product when there are countless ones on the market? And how safe are they? Thanks to my viewer Alyssa for suggesting this much needed topic idea. So let's shake it off in today's episode. Oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to get that song out of my head. Now, if it's your first time here, I'm Dr. Madge. Consider subscribing to this channel for up-to-date medical topics, news, and headlines. First of all, what is protein exactly? Well, here's the lowdown. Protein is made up of 20 building blocks called amino acids, and 8 of those 20 amino acids are termed essential, which means that our body cannot produce it and that we need to obtain it from the foods that we actually consume. And protein is used as a structural component of pretty much everything in your body: muscle, tissue, hormones, enzymes. So there's no debate. We need protein to survive. Now, how much do you actually need? Well, the US Dietary Guidelines recommends that protein comprise 10 to 35% of our total calories. Recommended daily dietary allowances for an average adult is about 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram of weight per day. That means about 54 grams for someone that weighs about 150 pounds. Now, I wholeheartedly believe that it's always best to obtain your nutrients, including protein, through your diet via the natural food sources that we consume. Always. But if you're unable to and you're still considering these protein shakes, then here are a few things that you need to know. Here we go. First of all, there are 2 types of protein powders: animal or veggie. The animal sources provide a complete source of protein, meaning all the essential amino acids. They may contain higher cholesterol and saturated fat content than veggie sources, so it may be a little less healthy. An example is whey, which is a byproduct of cheese production. Who knew? It's one of the 2 protein sources found in milk and comprises about 20% of the protein that's contained in milk. The majority of the lactose is stripped away, however, so whey is really unlikely to cause problems in most people with lactose intolerance, so there's good news there. Casein is the second protein source in milk, and it comprises about 80% of the protein found in there. Other animal sources include egg protein, which is not the tastiest and perhaps one of the more priciest. And then there's vegetable sources. They may lack one or more of the essential amino acids, but it's good for people who are looking to improve their cholesterol and decrease their saturated fat intake, or if you're a vegetarian. An example is soy, which is derived from soybeans, which is a legume. Even though it's a non-animal source, it does contain complete protein, interestingly. However, there's controversy over its production because most of the produced soy in the United States is genetically modified. There are also claims that it can increase estrogen and decrease testosterone, but honestly, there's truly not enough solid evidence to back up all of these claims. You'd have to consume a lot of soy for it to really make a difference like that. As long as consumed in moderation, like with everything else in life, whole soy is unlikely to be harmful in most healthy adults. I would advise to limit the intake to about 2 servings a day. And as with everything else, opt for unprocessed options. That would put protein shakes out of the equation. Other veggie protein shake sources are like peas, rice, or hemp. However, they're more costly and are not often complete protein sources like soy. Okay, so now that you know why you need protein, how much of it you need, and the differences between the various sources of protein powders, it's only wise to understand its proposed risks. First of all, just like any other over-the-counter supplement, there is no FDA regulation or testing of these products to make sure that they're effective or even safe. For example, in the state of California, Proposition 65 mandates a label to be added for shakes with contaminants. But some manufacturers may still not report this information. A consumer report from 2010 revealed testing results of 15 protein products. I'll place the link to this down in the description box. All of the shakes had at least one sample that tested positive with a heavy metal contaminant like arsenic, cadmium, lead, and mercury. Most levels were low moderate, but 3 of the products revealed that having 3 servings a day can expose to exceeded max limits. According to the Clean Label Project, which is a nonprofit consumer advocacy group, who tested 134 of the top selling protein powder products. I'll place the link in the description down below for that so you can check it out. Certified organic protein powders had an average of over 2 times the level of heavy metals when compared to non-organic. Isn't that interesting? Just because something is labeled as organic, it doesn't necessarily mean it's healthier, even though it may cost more. That may come as a shocker to some of you. I know. In general, egg-based protein powders were reported as the cleanest of the bunch, and the plant-based sources fared the worst. Pesticide contaminants in the soil may be part of the problem here, if you're wondering why. If you're curious about their top 5 recommendations based on how clean they tested, check out the link below in the description box. Note, however, that their recommendations are simply based on the presence of contaminants and aren't taking into account other undesirable ingredients. And there aren't enough studies to determine whether or not there truly is a potential for harm, even when these contaminants are consumed. We also don't know the quantity of these elements in each product and what the threshold would even be for causing harm, if there's any. So a lot of unanswered questions. My head is actually spinning, and I'm sure yours is too. Number 2, according to the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, most people already get enough protein. There is some evidence that true athletes may benefit from a little more protein, but for the rest of us, the body can only process about 5 to 9 grams of protein per hour, and then the excess is converted to fat or it's excreted and eliminated from the body. No way? Way. Number 3, excessive protein intake may potentially be harmful, for instance, in those with decreased kidney functioning, which is a rather common complication of diabetes and high blood pressure, and it could be rather hard on the kidneys to process. High protein intake can also contribute to dehydration, so beware of that. Number 4, if you're hoping for weight loss, meal shake replacements have not been shown to be effective for long-term weight loss, which you know is a topic that I talk about often in my videos. And number 5, in fact, it may cause weight gain in some people. After all, protein is still calories and it still stimulates insulin released by the pancreas, although not as much as carbs, but nevertheless. Many of these shakes also contain excessive carbohydrates, so watch out, the main culprit of the obesity epidemic. You're not going to lose weight on that. Sorry. Read those labels. If you still opt for these shakes, read all the food labels before you buy. Avoid anything that contains added oils like sunflower oil, corn syrup, chemical preservatives, artificial colors and flavors, added sugars, and carrageenan. My take on these protein products, just say no way. Instead of waiting until eternity for the FDA to illuminate us on the brilliant answers to these questions, just try to avoid these products altogether. Like I mentioned, simply opt for protein sources that are from natural food sources in your diet. Here's a general tip. Anything that's packaged or processed is not as healthy as the actual whole food, including these protein concoctions. I know they're quite convenient. I get that as a vegetarian myself, but there are cheaper and more effective ways to get more protein if needed. So why spend money and risk your health in the process? For instance, try making your own shakes using some of these high protein ingredients like milk, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, peas, tofu, nuts, and seeds. Also high in protein content, you may not be able to make a shake out of it, but you can still consume more of these, is fish, lean poultry, beans, and lentils. But you may not want to add those to your homemade shakes. Fish and bean shake, anyone? Blech. I'll place a link to a chart of the protein content of some common foods below in the description for you to use as a reference for your shake making. If you found the information valuable, which is always my goal, please subscribe, ring that bell, like, and consider sharing it with someone else who may find this video useful. Well, thanks for tuning in. Stay healthy, and I'll catch you next time.